Hello, everybody. I hope you're all doing good. So, my name is Mahmoud Toure. Today, we're going to talk on an interesting, amazing topic, which is international war and conflict resolutions. So, as you know, we can see around the world war and conflict occur everywhere. But sometimes we are asking ourselves how war and conflict occur in the international system and how we can try to also to resolve them. So it's really important for all of us to be giving interest to those kind of topic because it's not only those countries or nations who are affected by war who will be affected by the effect or the negative effect, but also those who are not having war and conflict in their areas. Okay, so without wasting time, this videos is going to be focusing on especially the Ukraine and the Russians war and also the Palestinians and the Israelis war conflict, and also we're going to talk about the Sahelian terrorism. Okay, so without wasting time, if today is your first time to be here, let us follow, like and share our videos. It's going to help us to also do more content for you guys to be updated, especially in those international issues. So let's get started. So according to realists, most of them argues that war and conflict are inevitable in the international system. Among those realists, we can see Niccolo Machiavelli and his colleagues. So they argue that conflicts are inevitable. So what's your view opinion about it? So I think based on based on their ideology is like the international system is anarchy, and this anarchy system makes people are selfish. This natural selfishness of human being makes that we cannot avoid war or conflict. Even if we try to figure out in our daily life, we can see people are fighting against each other, sometimes for nothing. So according to realists, their argues that war and conflict are inevitable because human beings are naturally selfish. So we just care about ourselves, we don't care about others. So I think if you try to see, sometimes they are right, but in other parts too, we have to be very careful when analyzing those kind of issues. So let's try to see the conflict, especially between Israel and Palestine. When we try to figure out, I think these two states, or I can say because Israel is recognized under the United Nations as a state, but for Palestinians, they are not yet recognized by the United Nations. So we can say these two states have been fighting against each other for a very long time since the independence of Israel in 1948. So up to now, we can see war, terrorism, attacks, and you see destructions of building, destructions of human life. You see, so it's very critical for all of us to try to analyze in order to see how this war occur. When we try to understand the war between them, we can see we can see a cultural fact, we can also see a regional fact, a religious fact, and also when we try to figure out, we can see also a really misunderstanding between the two states. So, what kind of solution can we suggest to them? I think the United Nations suggests between Israel and Palestine, the two-state solutions, which is going to be focusing on also giving the right to the two states to be communicate and also to have understanding on some terms because it's very difficult for two entity which does not have understanding to even have diplomatic processes or to discuss. But I think the international system, if really they have the will to really end this war, they can try to do something. And here, especially, I want to be focusing on the United States because if you try to see, the United States play a really big or biggest role in this conflict between Israel and Palestine. So I think the United States is like views to be just supporting Israel because the United States always help Israel in terms of funds, in terms of diplomatic assistance, and also in terms of defending them at the United Nations Security Council. So I think the United States has also to be very careful in encouraging this kind of thing because it's going to not only affect the United States or Israel or Palestinians, it's also going to affect the whole international system, especially in the Middle East, because the United States intervention in the Middle East have very huge estimations in terms of relevance and also in terms of how they have been able to be imposing their dominance, how they are being able to be imposing their hegemony. So for them to keep this power, they really have to be very careful and also to also try to be assisting Palestinians in order to end this war. Okay, so I think the United Nations also has to play a biggest role because is the only one biggest organizations which group about like more than 100 states. So most of the states around the world are part of the United Nations. So the United Nations has to play this role in order to avoid or to maybe reduce, we can say reduce or the conflict in the Middle East. So let's come on the Europe zone, especially the war between Ukraine, sorry, between Ukraine and Russia. If you try to see the invasion of Russia in Ukraine in 2014 has been critical for Russia and also has been a very biggest issue for Ukrainian, especially this last inventions in 2022 when Russia decided to defend its national interests because Ukraine has decided itself to be joining the NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty organizations. So it was like a kind of national threat or a kind of threat for Russia because Russia is no more part of the NATO and NATO is trying to expand its borders around the Europe zone. So this is a kind of threat for Russians, and Russians are trying to also avoid to be in risk to also defend themselves before waiting for the threat to come. They consider these actions as an imminent threat, so they don't want to be wasting time waiting for Ukraine to join NATO before they react or to do something. So I think, in the other hand, we've tried to maybe put ourselves at the place of Russia. We can also try to understand uh, their their will and also to try to figure out how they want to do all those kind of things. But if you try to see in terms of consequences, I think all the nations around the world are affecting, especially in terms of oil, gas, you see. And most of the product that we are using in daily life are produced based on gas or maybe oil. So this war has bring a lot of arms to all the nations. So I think reason why I was saying you should more like prevent yourself to be fully part of negotiations, to be taking diplomatic ways, and also to be for stopping war. Okay, should not say I'm not part of Europe, I'm not part of Russia, I'm not Ukrainian, so I don't care about what's happened there. So you have to be very careful in taking those kind of decisions. So apart from the Ukraine and Russians war and the Israelis and Palestinians war. We can also see in Africa, especially in the Sahelian zone. When I talk about Sahelian zone, I want to say like countries like Mali, Burkina, Niger, Chad. You will see. So all those countries are also facing conflict, especially terrorism. Okay, millions of people are affected by this conflict. If you try to see, I think the conflict started in 2011 with the taking out of the president Mohammed Gaddafi in Libya. So it was a very big mistake that did the Western country in taking away Mohammed Gaddafi, because Mohammed Gaddafi was having the view to be building the United States of Africa. So Westerners does not like to Africa, especially African state, to also be developed and also to be moving forward. So reasons why they decide to kill Mohammed Gaddafi and to take the power from him. But those terrorism in the Sahelian zone are all based on this terrorism attack or this killing of Mohammed Gaddafi in 2011. So it was a really big mistake, and now Sahelian states are affected by these consequences. You see, especially when they try to go around the northern part of Mali. Before, it was a very big challenge for soldiers to be implementing themselves there. But right now, I think, thanks to the soldiers in power right now, I think they are doing their best. They are doing their best to take some cities like Kidal, Timbuktu, Gao, and also to be implementing everywhere. I think they are really doing their best through the cooperation with Russia, and also they are also trying to kill a lot of terrorists. So I think we really have to be supporting those kind of initiative, because they are really affecting the development in the Sahelian zone. And we all know in the Sahelian zone there is a lot of natural resources around there. So those states also has to be working on development issues. Okay, same case in Niger, same case in Burkina too, in Chad. You see, so those regions are very rich in terms of natural resources. So they really have to be fighting against terrorism first. Is like part of their priority. So they have to fight for that first before to try to think about development, economic issues. You see, so I think we don't want to be taking this video too long, as is our first analysis on international conflict. We just want to be focusing on the three parts. So then maybe next time we're going to talk about other conflict around the world, and also other international relations or international cooperation among states. So as I said before, if you are not subscribed, now is the time to subscribe in order to be updated in terms of news around the old world. So you are all welcome. Thank you for following us, and see you next time. Bye bye.